Thank you for inviting me. I think I came here some months back, and it was such a wonderful experience for me. My name is Esther Helga, and I am a compulsive eater, under and over. And I am abstinent because I do the gray sheet, and I'm going to do my Icelandic mantra. Ég í fráhaldi í dag vegna þess að ég vikt og mæli 3 máltíðir að gráa síðunni. Ég skrifaði niður og tilkynnti sponsors sama hvað gerist í lífi mínu. Fæ mér ekkert á milli mála nema kaffi, te og fráhaldi það mikilvægasta í lífi mínu í dag. So wonderful to be here. Qualification or qualifying today. I've been heavily working all day and just came home from my yet another meeting here, and so I haven't had really much time to contemplate on what to say, and but I do want to say a few things that have come up for me, and one is that I'm a real late stage compulsive eater and food addict, and I know that because when I came in, I was on the verge of suicide. My depression was so deep, and my sense of being was just, there was just no hope left, and no dopamine levels in my brain, I tell you, and I had no pleasure. I had no pleasure, and the food was really my only place of relaxation. I could rest finally when I had the food, and it had taken me over in such a way that I was just started eating when I woke up, and I stopped when I fell asleep, unconscious, on my bed or on the sofa or something, and it was like in the last few years, it was like continuously having something like every half hour, no longer between, over the course of the day. And of course, I had gained a lot of weight in spite of me really trying to do whatever it took in so many ways. I was the health nut of Iceland. I would have been crowned the king of healthy people in Iceland if we had had such a qualification. And but that had not ever worked for me. And I would just be a very healthy overeater. I'm telling you. And okay, so I had gained weight. I had never been so overweight. I had tried to move countries. I moved to the States. That would be the solution. I would be able to find a way in the United States of America. And I stayed there for a year and came back, and I had never ever been so overweight as after that move. But it was a beginning of a new era for me. My desperation had become so deep that I and my control issues and my self-will were just broken more and more. And that's what I needed in order for me to let go. And even though I was in such a bad shape when I came into my first Gray Sheet meeting, I really didn't feel that I was very much of I didn't think that I had a disease. I did not realize that I had a disease. I did not find that I felt everybody else in the group was really sick. Oh my God. And where had I come? And, but then also when I came into this meeting, some people have maybe heard me say this, almost everybody was thin. So once more, I was in a group of people that would know better than I, and on how to get thin. And I almost walked out of the meeting because of this. And then the other thing was that they looked happy. They were smiling and having fun, and they looked good. Their eyes were bright, And yeah, and I was not laughing inside of me. I was just really crying inside of me. But I did stay, and I had, of course, relapsed just before the meeting, and so I was in the food. And then when the speaker started talking, she told my story. She told my story. And I realized that for the first time in my life, I was 48 years old. I saw recovery for my disease. I realized that there was hope. And it totally broke me. And I just cried and sobbed like I'm such a drama queen. The whole meeting, really. And I was adamant on getting a sponsor, and I was lucky to get a sponsor who met me day after, got me into it, and oh my God, was this the program? No, it couldn't be like this. I knew so much better about everything, but she kindly asked, if I was willing just to try this for a few days or a week or something. And I reluctantly decided to do that. Well, maybe I can just as well try this. I tried everything else, I thought. And so I did. And I can tell you that I had a spiritual awakening or experience the first day. That's it. And I didn't even realize it. But something profound happened for me in the day. And I know now it was that the craving was taken. Just in the first day, I only needed one day for the craving to be taken. And it has not returned since. And it's been 18 years, 8 months, and 18 days, And it is just always such, to my amazement, because the day before I could not stop eating, and the day after I didn't need to eat at all. So that was the power of this program for me. And I know it was the biological part was taken, and that I had finally gotten a food plan that was sufficient for me and my needs and my disease. And so that took care of that somehow. And another thing that I had also realized before this, because I had a long time in 12-step programs, even though I hadn't gotten recovery in this before, was that I would need to do the program. I would need to do the STEP program. And I had actually started with a sponsor in another 12-step program to do the steps. And then actually I was guided with a person who was actually doing both, our sister fellowship and GreySheet at the time. And she guided me through the step work pretty fast after I started. And I think I needed that. For some people that may be too much. But I needed that. I absolutely did. It took me 9 months or so to get through the whole program of it. And, but that was the turning point. And specifically as I worked through the 4th step, that's when I understood that there was a way. I was told there was a way of me getting out of the victim that I felt I was in life, and that I could get out of that. I was told that, and I decided to believe that. The same way I decided to believe that this food plan might do something for me, I decided that I was going to even do those steps, And even if I had to say sorry to somebody and show somebody, that I was not perfect, I would do that if that was necessary. I was just so desperate. So when I came to that part of the work, of course, I gotten a real understanding. I went through the big book, and I also listened to a lot of speakers. I listened to, I actually, we're so lucky here in Iceland. We had a radio station here in Iceland.
5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Time flies. We have a radio station that is like a big book, a 12-step radio station. And I would just have to turn on the radio in my car, and I would just hear all those incredible speakers speaking about the recovery and the program of action. And I've been telling people, when I look back, I realized that I sincerely put myself into, I engulfed myself in the material. I just moved into it and I made it my home. And I remember, and it was fundamental for me. I heard an old AA speaker who knew Bill and Bob. You know, he's so old. And he said that he had realized that he needed to make AA his home. And that would need to be the core of his being, and that he would visit the world from there. And I got awakening there, and I understood, okay, that's what I need to do. I need to learn and give this program the chance of taking me over, basically. And that's what I did. It took me 3 years of just really, really, like every day I had in my ears something that I was listening again and again and again. Some of this, the 12-step by Joe and Charlie, and his 12-step studies and others, and then of course working through it all with my sponsor. But what I want to kind of finish with was that the turnaround in the 4th step was the understanding of that I had been a victim. I was a victim, that I had been a victim of circumstances, for sure. And to realize how that had affected myself, and how that had actually caused personality disorders in me. How the biological disease had basically stopped my emotional maturity. When I started using my drug, my emotional maturity stopped. And as I stopped eating and using my drug, which was very sedative, as everybody knows here, I'm sure, I needed something to deal with it. And of course, it was always everybody else's fault. I was a saint. My name is Esther Helga. It's Esther the Holy. I joke about it all the time. And I really seriously, I was there, me, the crazy person. And, but I realized as I went through this, that people had not been born to make my life miserable. And that I was very sick as well in my reactions to whatever was happening and my emotions to it. And I understood that I needed to change. I needed to change, and I needed to understand what my part was so that I can make changes. And that was a big, big break. It was another huge spiritual awakening or awakening for me to get to that place. And I think that is really a fundamental something that needs to happen. It needed to happen in my life so that I could maintain my abstinence, because that took me into maturity. I started taking responsibility for me, for my butt for my whatever. And instantly, almost what happened there as well. Was that, just so much was taken from me. So much mental obsession was just taken from me. It was just taken because I did my work. All the extra stuff was just taken away. So wonderful to be here. It really is invigorating for me. And thank you for letting me tell my story. And I hear that there's a lot of newcomers and possibly relapsers. So just don't keep up the good work. And it's worth it. It's so worth it.